When a woman pretends she's over you, the first and most telling sign is not a quiet absence, but a loud, conspicuous performance. It begins not with silence, but with a stage she meticulously sets for you and the world to see. She becomes the star of a show she calls Moving On, and her happiness feels less like a genuine emotion and more like a carefully rehearsed script. You'll notice a smile that appears a little too wide, a laugh that rings a little too hollow, and a sudden, overwhelming need to document a life that seems to have exploded with joy overnight. This isn't the organic, gradual process of healing. It's a marketing campaign. She is the product. And the central message is that she is not just fine without you. She is thriving. This campaign often manifests as a dramatic increase in her social media presence. Where there was once casual, infrequent posting, there is now a flood of content. It's a curated gallery of smiling selfies in new places. Group photos from vibrant outings she never seemed to have time for before. And cryptic captions that hint at a newfound freedom and self-discovery. Every post is a deliberate broadcast, a piece of evidence meant to build a case for her complete and total recovery. But the sheer volume and perfection of it all betray its authenticity. Real joy doesn't need to be proven. It simply is. This compulsive need to display her happiness reveals the very insecurity it's designed to conceal. She isn't sharing her life. She's selling an idea. And the primary target of this sales pitch is you. The irony is that this performance, intended to project strength, actually exposes a profound weakness. The energy required to sustain this illusion is immense. Every polished photo and cheerful update is a conscious effort to silence the doubts and the quiet ache of loss. She is trying to convince herself as much as she is trying to convince you. But the performance is brittle. In her private moments, when the notifications stop and the camera is off, the silence she's trying to fill with noise becomes deafening. The selfies don't hug her back, and the captions can't erase the memories. The gap between her public persona and her private reality begins to widen, creating a hollow space where the truth echoes. The more she forces the act, the emptier she feels behind the curtain. Because real healing is a quiet, internal journey that doesn't require an audience. It's a slow, often messy reconstruction of self that happens in the unglamorous spaces of life. It's not in the spotlight of a performance. Her loud public display is not the sound of moving on. It's the clamor of someone trying to outrun the very feelings they claim to have conquered. As the initial spectacle of her performance begins to settle, a more nuanced and telling phase emerges, characterized not by the grand gestures of moving on, but by the small, inconsistent cracks that betray her true state of mind. Her behavior becomes a series of contradictions, a silent war between her pride and her lingering attachment. She may take the drastic step of blocking you on social media, a move designed to signal finality and her own fortified boundaries. Yet, this act of digital severance is often a facade. From a secondary account or through the profiles of mutual friends, she continues to watch. This isn't the casual glance of a curious bystander. It is a compulsive monitoring, a need to know the state of your world, even as she claims to have left it behind. Similarly, she might let your texts go unanswered, projecting an image of cold indifference, but she never takes the definitive step of deleting your number. It remains a silent digital ghost in her phone, potential line of connection she is unwilling to permanently cut. This pattern of contradiction extends to her social circles. To her friends, she may speak in absolutes, bragging about her newfound freedom and declaring with finality that she is completely done with you. Yet those same friends become unwilling witnesses to the truth, hearing your name surface in conversations with a frequency that contradicts her claims. She might frame these mentions as casual references or subtle critiques, but their sheer regularity exposes a mind that is still occupied with you. A woman who has genuinely moved on doesn't need to constantly reaffirm her independence. She simply lives it. The need to verbally declare her freedom, especially to those who already know her, reveals a person who is still trying to convince herself. Underpinning all these contradictions is a powerful, often unmanageable sense of curiosity. She pretends to have no interest in your life, yet she actively seeks out information about it. This can manifest in subtle questions posed to mutual friends, crafted to sound offhand but designed to extract specific intelligence. "Oh, did he ever end up going on that trip? Or I heard he changed jobs. Is that true?" Behind the scenes, her digital footprints tell a similar story, lingering on your friends' tagged photos, checking your follower lists, or noting when your online activity patterns change. This isn't idle curiosity. It is the shadow of desire. If you truly held no space in her emotional world, your actions would be irrelevant. The fact that she invests energy in tracking your movements proves that you remain a central coordinate on her map. Her identity, whether she admits it or not, is still intertwined with yours, and she cannot rest until she knows how your story is unfolding. Even if she is no longer in it, one of the most telling acts in her performance is the swift introduction of a new character, the rebound. It often happens with a jarring lack of transition, as if the script demanded an immediate replacement to solidify the narrative of her moving forward. She doesn't just find someone new, she makes sure you see it. This new man is paraded through the same channels she used to broadcast her solo happiness, appearing in social media posts. Mentioned in group settings, his presence made unmistakably clear to you in your shared social circle. But if you look beyond the surface of these staged appearances, the story lacks genuine depth. The chemistry feels rushed. The affection seems performative. And the smiles she directs at him often lack the unguarded warmth that comes with true connection. This isn't the slow, organic bloom of a new relationship. It's theater. She is not with him because she has discovered a profound new love, but because she needs a proper living, breathing testament to her continued desirability. His primary role is not to be a partner, but to be proof. Proof that she is wanted. Proof that she wasn't truly hurt. And proof that you have been seamlessly replaced. This reliance on a stand-in reveals a profound emptiness. Rebounds do not heal. They distract. They are a temporary anesthetic for the pain of loss, a loud noise meant to drown out the quiet ache of your absence. The more she leans into this new relationship, throwing herself into its whirlwind of new experiences and forced intimacy, the more it highlights the very void it was meant to fill. She is using his presence as a shield against having to sit alone with her own feelings. If she were truly over you, she wouldn't need a buffer. She would have the strength and genuine contentment to simply stand alone, to exist comfortably in her own company without requiring the validation of another man's attention. The frantic need to be seen with someone new is a confession of incompleteness, not a declaration of independence. The most powerful and revealing moment, however, comes not from her actions, but from her reaction, specifically her reaction to your silence. Her entire performance was built on an assumption that you would be watching, that you would be hurt, and that you would eventually break. She anticipated your chase, your texts filled with regret, your pleas for another chance. This anticipated reaction was the intended payoff for her elaborate show. Your pain was meant to be her validation. But when that reaction never comes, when your silence remains unbroken, the foundation of her act begins to crumble. Your calm detachment is a force she doesn't know how to combat. It doesn't fight her. It doesn't argue with her narrative. It simply exists, immovable and undeniable. This silence becomes louder than all her forced laughter. It eats away at her, breeding restlessness, suspicion, and a gnawing insecurity. She may try to provoke a response through subtler means, a cryptic social media story meant to intrigue you, or a pointed comment relayed through a mutual friend, but when you still refuse to engage, her frustration becomes palpable. The victory she envisioned turns into a hollow defeat because she realizes the audience she was performing for is no longer watching. She is dancing on a stage alone. The silence she wanted to fill with the sound of your anguish is now filled only with the echo of her own pretense. The relentless energy required to sustain the illusion eventually takes its toll, and the performance begins to fray at the edges, giving way to a quieter, more corrosive phase, obsession. The initial empowerment she felt from projecting strength curdles into a draining preoccupation. The act of being happy is exhausting when your heart is heavy. And this constant internal tug-of-war between the face she shows the world and the truth she feels inside leaves her emotionally threadbare. She may become restless, irritable, and prone to sudden mood swings that confuse her friends and family. The vibrant social persona she cultivated starts to recede, replaced by a more withdrawn and pensive individual. This is the hidden cost of pretending. She isn't living in peace. She is perpetually performing. And the strain is unsustainable. As her energy wanes, her mind shifts gears. It is no longer enough to simply show she has moved on. She becomes consumed with the evidence that you haven't. Her focus turns inward and backward, spiraling into an obsessive loop of overanalysis. She checks your social media not with casual curiosity, but with a detective's intensity, searching for clues in your posts, your likes, and your followers. She decodes the timing of your online activity, wondering if a late-night login means you are thinking of her. The silence you maintain is no longer just an absence of noise. It becomes a text she is desperate to read, filling the void with her own imagined scenarios. Why hasn't he reached out? Is he seeing someone? Has he really forgotten me so easily? These questions loop endlessly in her mind, and because your silence provides no answers, she is left to invent her own, none of which bring her any peace. This obsession is a prison of her own making, hollowing her out and turning her initial act of independence into a state of constant, anxious vigilance. This internal obsession inevitably begins to manifest in her external behavior in subtle but undeniable ways. She might engineer accidental encounters, showing up at a coffee shop or social event she knows you frequent, pretending to be surprised to see you. Her conversations with mutual friends become less about catching up and more about fishing for information. Her questions about your life thinly disguised as polite small talk. She might even craft situations where word of her new happiness is guaranteed to reach you, testing to see if this latest update will finally provoke the reaction she craves. Every one of these moves is coated in a thin veneer of nonchalance, but beneath it lies a raw and deepening desperation. The woman who once blocked you to signal her power is now actively, though covertly, trying to re-enter your orbit. The performance has flipped. She is no longer the aloof star of her own show, but a stagehand desperately trying to get the lead actor's attention. She is trapped in a cycle of her own creation, monitoring your silence, feeling its sting, and then attempting to break it, only to find it more impenetrable than before. The illusion of control she once clung to has completely shattered. Revealing the truth, she is not in charge of this narrative. Your silence is, and it is slowly dismantling her from the inside out. The final act is not a dramatic confrontation, but a quiet, devastating collapse. The performance, having consumed all her emotional resources, can no longer be sustained. The energy required to maintain the facade of happiness, to police her own reactions, and to feed the obsession simply runs out. The mask once held so firmly in place doesn't just slip. It falls away completely, leaving her exposed to the raw truth she had been working so hard to outrun. The realization is brutal and inescapable. She was never over you. All the smiling selfies, the flaunted rebounds, the declarations of freedom, they were not tools of healing, but a shield. And now, with the shield gone, she is left defenseless against the full weight of what she truly feels. A wave of regret that doesn't crash, but rather seeps in, cold and permanent. This regret is multifaceted, and its sting is profound. It isn't just about losing you. It's about the person she became in the process. She sees with painful clarity how her pride sabotaged her. In her effort to protect her ego and project an image of unshakable strength, she pushed away the very possibility of reconciliation. Every fake smile was a wall she built between you. Every force post was a message that she didn't need you until she successfully convinced you that it was true. She now understands that her performance was not a display of power, but a surrender to fear. The fear of being vulnerable, the fear of appearing weak, and the ultimate fear of admitting that she had made a mistake. The crushing awareness dawns that she wasted a precious opportunity. Not because you were necessarily waiting, but because her own arrogance prevented her from being honest with herself and with you. She chose the illusion of winning over the messy, authentic work of repair, and in doing so, she'd guaranteed her own loss. This regret extends inward, corroding her sense of self. She realizes she didn't just lose you, she lost a version of herself. The woman behind the performance was honest, capable of vulnerability and real connection. The woman she became during the act was curated, defensive, and inauthentic. Pretending doesn't just fool others. It erodes the person behind the mask. The constant effort to align her outward actions with an inward lie creates a hollow space within. As this realization sinks in, she is overcome with a deep, resonant emptiness. She understands that, even if she wanted to undo it all, time has moved inexorably forward. While she was trapped in her loop of performance and obsession, you were likely using that same silence for genuine growth, building yourself into someone stronger and more grounded. Someone who no longer needs the validation her act was designed to provide. The final, cruelest irony of her entire pretense is now laid bare. The act she thought would make her powerful, proving she didn't need Yuha's, in fact rendered her completely powerless. By pretending so effectively, she created the very reality she feared most, a world where you have genuinely moved on. Your silence, which she initially interpreted as a challenge, has now been revealed as simple, unadorned truth. You are indifferent. You have healed. You don't need her. The leverage she once held, the power to make you react, is gone. Any timid final attempts to reach back, a liked post, a random hey, a contrived coincidence, are not acts of strength, but the last faint signals of a ship that has already sunk. They lack all conviction and power because she is no longer leading. She is following, hoping for a scrap of the attention she once so theatrically rejected. In the end, her act leaves a wound that does not cleanly heal. She may eventually move forward, find new distractions, or even settle into another relationship. But the memory of you, and more specifically, the memory of how your silent strength exposed her profound weakness, becomes a permanent scar on her psyche. It is a quiet, humiliating reminder of the time she chose pride over peace, performance over authenticity, and in the process, lost not only the man she pretended to be over, but also a piece of her own integrity. The performance is forgotten, but the lesson is indelible. She never really got over you. She just pretended until the pretending became a punishment in itself. And your silence was the judge that sentenced her to face the truth.